on Shavuot, we read Megillat Ruth, and many was written and discussed on why the Megillah of Ruth is most appropriate for this time of the year for Shavuot. The different suggestions speak about the fact that David HaMelech has a great connection to Shavuot, and the Megillah of Ruth would tell us where David HaMelech came from. Another thing that we see in the Megilah is the importance of chesed, of acts of kindness. And we know how our Torah and the laws need to go together with chesed. Other people want to emphasize the importance of the halachot, of Geulah and Yibum as a message of the Megillah, the importance of taking care of the continuation of generations, of the Torah and of the nation in general. And other people say that one of the messages of the Megillah in general, regardless of Shavuot, has to do with explaining to us how come David HaMelech had an ancestor that was not Jewish, and yet he is David HaMelech that we know. All of these answers are good reasons, suggestions regarding the message of the Megillah. But is it the main message? And is it necessarily the main message that due to that fact, we read that Megillah on Shavuot? So first of all, the answer is yes, all of these are good answers, but I'll want to suggest another answer that I think could give us an interesting reading into the Megillah of Ruth. We see within the Megillah that in all sorts of times and situations, certain halachot are not really kept as they should be. For example, we have the halachot of leket. Leket is a halacha that we are obligated to allow the poor to collect certain leftovers from our field. In the Megillah, the people of Boaz tell him that this individual is not eligible for the mitzvah of leket. One of the reasons, she is not connected to the people. She is a foreigner that came over, Ruth. Also, the way that Boaz allows her to perform leket is in a better way, but a non-halachic way. He is not obligated to do so according to the halacha. So we see that the halachot of leket are not really kept as they should be within the Megillah. The other thing is the mitzvah of Yibum. The mitzvah of Yibum is making sure that when someone dies and he has no children, his wife would marry this individual's brother in order to make sure that there is a continuation to the dead brother. Here, Boaz is not a brother, he's a distant relative, and this aspect of Yibum that is done, marrying in order to make sure that the dead person has a continuation, is not a regular type of Yibum, and it's not a pure halachic one. Also, there's a different halachot regarding Gerut and the status of Ruth, and different things seem a bit different within this Megillah. But if we will look carefully, we will see that all of these laws that are broken in a positive way. We are taking certain halachot and we're taking them to the extreme, but not in order to be stringent, but in order to create kindness, to help the others. Boaz expands the limits of the mitzvah of leket in order to give to the poor. He expands the limit of Yibum in order to help Ruth and Naomi. And certain things are expanded so we can have more kindness to different people. Maybe we can suggest that one of the main messages of Megillat Ruth, and maybe its significant connection to Shavuot, is the fact that many times that we have a conflict between the law that the Torah will give us and the spirit of the law. The law will tell you do X, but you want to be kinder, you want to do better. Do I need to stop that? And in such a case, Megillat Ruth tells us that the Torah is here to spread the most possible light and kindness. We do not stop. We do not say, okay, the Torah told me only to give so and so I can't give anymore. Rather, Megillat Ruth teaches us that sometimes in order to observe the law better, we need to break it a bit. But how do we break it? Megillat Ruth tells us Boaz goes to the elders and he works within the frame of halacha. So we are not speaking about the danger of let's throw away Torah in order to help others. But within the rules of Torah, we want to expand them as much as possible, together with the Chachamim, together with Chazal, but we don't use the Torah to take away from others. We use the Torah and we try to expand this spirit of the law together with what the Chachamim tell us. This can also be apparent in the Bracha that the people give Boaz Inur. And they tell him, ויאמרו כל העם אשר בשער והזקנים עדים, ייתן השם את האישה הבאה אל ביתך כרחל וכלאה, אשר בנו שתיהם את בית ישראל. They tell him, your house should be like the house of Rachel and Leah that built together the house of Israel. That was not a simple marriage. And if we look carefully, it's also not a halachic marriage. Halachically, a person cannot marry two sisters, and yet they built the house of Israel. True, it was prior to Matan Torah, but it wasn't a regular marriage. Your house should be like the house of Peretz that was born to Tamar and Yehuda. That as well was not a lechatchila marriage. That was an entire story as well. And what are they saying? Even though this marriage and this connection of Ruth and Boaz is not really a clear-cut one, it should be like these other houses. These houses that maybe should not exist, but their existence creates our nation and creates great individuals. So together with Shavuot, together with Matan Torah, we learn about the Megilah of Chesed, that the goal is to take what the Torah is saying, but not to use it to limit our reality, but to expand it with two caveats: kindness to others and the blessing of Chazal, of the Chachamim, of the leaders of Torah, of Jizat generations. We should all merit to have the ability to see the light and kindness within the Torah and use that to light our world in a positive way and spread kindness around us. Chag Shavuot Sameach.